Welcome to Bay State Golf. I'm Sean Melia. I'm trying to play every golf course in the state of Massachusetts, public, private, 9 holes, 18 holes. I've played 146 out of about 350 since 2020. Today's episode, I am recapping the 5 courses I played in May. 2 were new, 3 were return trips. Looking forward to sharing all of that with you. Before we get to that, just please subscribe to the channel. Drop this a like, share where you played in May, any good spots, any places that are in good shape worth checking out early-ish in the season as now we turn the calendar into June. So let's get to my 5 courses I played this month in Massachusetts. As usual, as I go through my recaps, I like to just do 2 good things and 1 thing that I didn't really like or that could, use some improvement at each golf course, so I don't ramble on too long about all of these. I could talk about each of these golf courses for much longer, and some I have in other videos that I've done. Today's first course is Maynard Golf Course. I played it in early May, a drizzly Sunday with my 2 nephews and my brother-in-law. Youth on Course allows kids to play Maynard for $5, which is incredible. This is where I grew up playing. And overall, it's just one of those places that is kind of one of the good things. It's just an easy, straightforward walk and very, very good just to get around pretty quickly. I know that it can get a little bit slow. I think that's just become, sadly, the state of affairs for most public golf in the state and really around the country. But you can walk it pretty easily. A lot of short trips from greens to tees, except for the second hole, which was lengthened to a par 5, so it kind of is an awkward little return to the third tee box there. But overall, a nice easy walk at Maynard. It's a little rough around the edges, just as far as the bunkers aren't great, and the greens, even in early May, and when I played it a couple years ago, they all just feel like they're on the brink of possibly being lost. The 9th hole was already kind of splotchy and spotty. When I was there a couple years ago, the 4th hole was lost. The 8th hole felt a little bit like it was on the edge as well. So that's one of those things. They're running a shoestring budget over there. It makes it hard. And that's just one of those things. If you go and you want to play Maynard, know that you're going to hit some fun shots. It's not terribly challenging. It's a nice, easy walk, but it's also, you're going to get crummy lies in bunkers, and they're going to be hard pan bunkers, and the greens might not be the best to putt. The final good thing about Maynard is it is a really nice course for beginners. It's, like I said, it's where I learned how to play. And the nice part about it for beginners is there are some interesting holes. It's not dead flat land. You have to hit some uphill shots. You've got to hit some downhill shots. There's those little moments where someone who's new to the game can kind of get the thrill of seeing their improvement. It's not an open field where they can just kind of hit it all over the place. There's a couple streams, a couple forced carries, a couple spots where, like on the 4th hole on that tee box, you can hit it around the water and be completely safe. And as you get a little bit longer, maybe you could try to hit it over the water. The 3rd hole, a par 3 up to kind of like a mini volcano, is another really good hole. It's short enough that beginners can start to get closer and closer to the green, maybe hit the green, and feel good about making a par. And then it's got some kind of cool blind tee shots as well that can be fun for everybody, but especially for beginners. Just learning the game and seeing kind of some different pieces of the game of golf in a little 9-hole package. I think it's a course that kind of just informed what I like about golf and what I like about golf courses overall, just having grown up playing there with my friends. The second golf course I played in May was a new golf course to me, Crystal Lake in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Kind of an interesting dynamic during this round. The Boston Globe wrote an article about me earlier in middle of May, and this is the round I played with the author of the piece, Billy Baker. He wanted to spend a day with me, seeing kind of what I do when I go to a golf course and play a golf course. So I booked this one. We went and played it. It is a good value as far as just strictly speaking at the price. It's $38 to walk at its cheapest. It's $62 at its most expensive to walk. It was $40 the Monday morning that we played. We actually rode just because Billy wanted to be able to, take notes and kind of just spend a little bit of time in the cart, getting to and from our golf balls and getting around. So didn't get to experience on foot, which, isn't always the best thing. But just as far as the value there, it's pretty good. Crystal Lake has undergone a bunch of changes over the last maybe 15 years. They've been bought out by Sterling Golf Company, and so they run the golf course. Before they bought it, there was a bunch of development that went on. So there's houses on the golf course that actually kind of chopped up some of the holes, and they had to change some golf holes, which creates a little bit of an awkward routing in some spots. You got to take a long ride from the 8th green to the 9th tee box. And it's also just a kind of a narrow, tight opening stretch of golf holes, which makes it really, really built for slow play. We stood on the 10th tee, and I thought to myself, this is what should be the opening hole. This one is a better place to start. It's a little more open. 11, 12, 13, they're all just a little bit more space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are super, super tight. And if you're new to the golf course, you're not quite sure where to go on some of them and what you need to do. So that was kind of one thing that was a little bit of a part for me that I didn't love. I did not love Crystal Lake overall. I had a hard time just even kind of finding two things that were good and only one thing that bothered me. But I'd say the housing development and the kind of the chopped up golf holes and just the tight opening few holes that just kind of weren't really a great introduction to the golf course either. As far as one last thing that I could say that's good about Crystal Lake is the closing stretch is actually pretty okay. You stand on the 16th tee box. It's a short par 3, a little uphill. You're kind of in some trees, and then as you get up to the green, it opens up and you can see 17. You can see some of the golf course out, from the holes you've already played as well. So there's just that's kind of a nice little setting there. 17 is one of the few holes you can stand on the tee box and just you can feel free to swing a driver hard and not worry about trying to steer it into a small area. And the green there was actually one of my favorite greens. Just a little bit bigger, back to front slope. Good bunkering just as far as what's protecting it. Some space in the front to roll a ball up if you need to do that. And I thought 17 was good. And then 18, kind of a not necessarily a great closing hole, but it's a par 5. You can chop off a bunch by hitting it over some trees on the right. And then you've got like a nice little second shot in, or you can lay up if you need to. And the 18th green is kind of in the middle of things. So you've got the trailer, double wide clubhouse in the background. A lot of just hustle and bustle around the 10th tee box, which is to the right as well. So you've got kind of this kind of little space where you get to finish your round, which I always like. I like when 18 is kind of close to a little bit of the hustle and bustle of the golf course and not set off away from things and away from places. So I did like that about Crystal Lake. I did mention the double wide trailer. It is a very kind of low key spot that, you're not going to be overwhelmed with facilities. It's got a small little putting green. Those things do not really bother me. I think I find them sometimes charming when you get to a golf course and they don't have a big opulent clubhouse, or they look like they're trying a little too hard to just make something that isn't quite there. Like Crystal Lake is kind of what they say it is. People seem to love it. The 10th tee was very busy as I was leaving. They must have had a league there, but tons of people playing golf there. So there is a group of people that love it. It's not necessarily a place I could imagine myself playing a league in or playing there every day. But that's Crystal Lake in Haverhill, Mass. Number 3 on my list this month was New England Country Club in Bellingham, Massachusetts. I played in a New England team tour event. F and 3P, my buddy Jordan, and Northeast Golf, Greg Sampson, are organizing 4 events this summer. This was the first of them, and then a 5th event later in the fall with some folks who play well in the first 4. So New England Country Club, I have already played it, checked it off, wrote my review. and that was probably 3 years ago when I did play it. Had a pretty good memory of it, and I finished it in the dark, so it was nice to finish it in a spot where we weren't rushing to play the last like 3 holes where the sun was setting. It's a stern test. Like overall, it is a very hard golf course, and it's hard because there are some tough driving holes. There are some narrow spots. There's a lot of trees out there. And it can play pretty long if you want to stretch it out to the back tees. So those are the things that make it tough. You've got some holes where fairways kind of slope towards hazards and kick you into the rough in different spots. 10 is one area, 11 is another one where you get like funny cart pass. Cart pass should not be the reason a hole is hard, but sometimes it is. The 8th hole is one of those holes that, man, if you hit a good tee shot, what a reward. And if you hit a bad tee shot, you're kind of screwed. There's really doesn't seem to be much in between those two options for, the 8th hole. So it's a stern test. I think for me, there are some, the kind of room for improvement part comes in just the routing is very awkward. And I think they've changed it in the last, I don't know, like 15 years to try to make it a little bit better. But you tee off and you play, 1 is right by the parking lot. You play 1, 2, 3, 4, and you play the front 9 now, and you return to the clubhouse. And then the 10th hole is like, this is an understatement. It's probably like a half a mile walk from 9 to 10. 9 returns you up kind of to the clubhouse area, and then you've got to go all the way back down. It used to be that the 9th hole was the first hole, and there's also a grass range, which is awesome, but that's by the 9th hole, so you've got to kind of go all the way down to the range and the putting green. There's no putting green up by the first hole, so there's just a lot going on there where if you get there and you want to if you want to warm up and you're a walker, I think I took a cart down just to be able to save some time. But like, it's a long walk to the range and the practice green, and then you got to come all the way back up to 1. And then after you play 9 to get to 10, I finished 9 before my group, and I told my group I'm going to start walking because I was the only walker in my group. You can say what you want about that, but I do like to walk these golf courses when I play them. So that's one piece for me that I just didn't love about it overall. And then I think I already mentioned it, but kind of a good part is there is a grass range there, which is kind of great. So it's a good hard golf course, but you can get ready for it. And I also think that overall, just like the greens are good there. It was in pretty good shape. There are some spots where it can get pretty soggy, but again, we're in May in New England, and that seems to be the case. So good grass range, really good stern test, some good holes, good shots are definitely rewarded in a lot of spots. Just a funny, funky routing, especially if you are a walker. It can be kind of distracting and tough to get around and maybe keep up with people if you're with a group who's riding. Number 4 on the list is Plymouth Country Club. Of course, I've played a bunch since I started the Quest. Of course, I had never played before the Quest. Teed it up with my friend Jed and my friend Paul, who has, I think people know both of them. They've been on my podcast. Jed is a member at Plymouth. Paul was playing in the Hornblower, which was a couple days after we played, so he wanted to just see the golf course and get a practice round in. Man, Plymouth Country Club is just so good, and you look at the scorecard and people poo-poo it because it's a par 69. I was talking to someone after playing Plymouth when I was down on the Cape doing some work at Cranberry Valley where I didn't play. I just photographed and videoed it, and he just immediately kind of wiped it away as like, oh, it's a par 69. It's not really anything special. This place is so good, and it's so good because there are a wide variety of different holes, and there's short par 4s like the 6th and the 13th. There's some meaty par 4s. The Punch Bowl 5th is a good test, not necessarily the longest because you're playing downhill. But then you've got 9, 11, 12 that are just like a really strong trio of holes in the middle of the round. and 18 is a tough hole. You don't get to a par 5 until the 16th hole, so you've really got to keep it together. The par 3s are also a wide variety where you're hitting 5 irons, you're hitting pitching wedges. The third hole, you're hitting a 4 iron. The 10th hole, which they just redid the bunkering in the green, also looks outstanding. That's like a mid iron. So just a really good test of golf. You get all your clubs dirty, which is kind of one of those things that I think is a point of pride for some golf courses. And Plymouth is really good, and it's good because of those things. The thing that I always come back to, and that always comes up when you talk to people about Plymouth, aside from the par 69, which does not bother me, is the 7th green and the 8th green seem to be kind of more and more of a talking point because they are so severe and so extreme. They create a lot of stress for players in the hornblower. They create a lot of stress for members. The 7th hole is a short par 4. It's you hit probably a wedge, maybe a short iron into that green, but it's so sloped. I talked to players after the hornblower who said they 4-putted the green, whereas their playing partners were at the front, like in the rough on the front, and they made par because it's just, you're almost in some cases better off missing the green and having a birdie chip and trying to save par that way than trying to putt from a lot of spots on the green. Not quite my cup of tea. The 8th hole, which is a short par 3, is also super extreme. It's got 2 tiers, and when we played it, I hit a pitching wedge. I landed on the top tier and ended up in the rough all the way in the front. A lot of players end up in that front left against the fringe, against the rough. Kind of makes it a tricky spot to try to get up and down from. Just kind of 2 holes that I think could use a little bit of softening as far as just how those greens run. With greens being as fast as they are these days, these greens were not built to be 11, 12, 13 and playing in like 30 mile per hour winds, which is what was happening on Friday at the hornblower. We didn't really play in a lot of wind on the Wednesday before, but Friday and Saturday it played very difficult. The hornblower winning score was 1 over par, just to give you a sense of how challenging over 36 holes that course can be for some of the best players in the state. Congratulations to Nick Macario for winning that. And I think the last thing very quickly is when you play Plymouth, it's one of those places I could imagine and would like to be. I could see myself being a member there and playing every day because it plays differently every day. Every time I've gone, I've had holes where I'm hitting a 4 iron into 12, and other times I've hit 9 iron into 12 just because of the way the wind is blowing, the temperature drops. It's not a kind of a brainless exercise to just be a member and go and hit like the same shots and know where you're going to be. You can hit a really good tee shot on 12 and have a 4 iron in one day, and you can hit a really good tee shot on 12 and have a 9 iron. It's not just because you can hit bad shots and end up in different places. You can hit good shots and end up in those different places because of a bunch of different circumstances, mainly a tough wind, different tee boxes that they move around, and temperature, because it's always kind of questionable on the Cape, especially at the beginning and the end of the season. So I love that about Plymouth. Lastly, LedgeMeont. I played a scramble at LedgeMeont. I have not written my review yet. It was a very fun day playing in the Community Cup, and we shot a 54. I was the worst player in the group by probably 4 or 5 shots. I'm a 4-ish, 5-ish handicap. I think I'm like a 4.5 right now, and I was the worst player. We didn't use one of my tee shots. We used a few of my approach shots. I was the guy putting first and actually had a pretty good day putting and made a few putts to take some pressure off the guys. So that was basically my contribution to the day. As far as the golf course goes, because the Community Cup I could talk about just in a different way, and like experiencing a golf course as far as a scramble is a little tricky. We were playing the white tees. I'm obviously not hitting my shots. We had a ton of birdie putts. I wasn't scrambling around to try to make pars in different spots. and I wasn't experiencing the holes as they are typically designed, or as I would if I was just out there playing. So some of this makes it a little tricky. So I'm gonna give you some things. I thought it's a private golf course. The tee boxes, the fairways, and the greens felt private. They felt like they, as the season goes, are gonna get better and better. The greens were like not terribly fast. We've had a ton of rain, and this was the very last day of May that I played LedgeMeont, and the fairways kind of had a little bit of a thump to them. The tee boxes were firm and flat, and like just they felt like you were at a private golf course. So that's kind of the first good thing. It's just that conditioning, and that kind of leads into the thing that felt a little bit odd to me, is that once you get farther away from the center line of the hole, things kind of deteriorated a little bit. You had bunkers that were really, really poor. I hit a few shots into bunkers. Thankfully, we did not have to hit any shots out of bunkers, but even just stepping into the bunker and grabbing my golf ball to head 50 yards down the fairway to get to one of my playing partner's tee shots. A lot of rocks, a lot of pebbles, just the edges weren't great. And then, the rough was pretty thick, and then you get kind of farther out and it gets shaggier and kind of feels more, not like a public golf course, but the bunkers certainly felt like a public golf course, if I'm being honest. And then, I think the other thing that stood out to me as far as just walking around, riding around the golf course, looking around, trying to take it in from the scramble perspective, is the land out there is really good, and it's kind of it's rolling. There's some spots where water can collect. 11, 12, 13 were pretty soggy, but there's slopes. You're playing against some slopes. You're playing up some slopes, down some slopes. So I did appreciate that. I wish I could see more of them. It's one of those golf courses that has kind of like a mishmash of trees. There's no like uniformity to the trees out there, which always makes me think they were planted for the sake of having trees on a golf course in that like 60s, 70s era, when that was kind of a thing that people wanted. They wanted the holes to feel separate. So I felt, to me, like a lot of that was part of what made it hard to kind of see and understand the routing and the land, because I thought there was some potential there, just as far as maybe it being a nice walk, a good tough walk, because there are some hills, but overall a pretty good seamless walk from greens to tees, except for a few places, which is always the case for the most part. But those trees kind of distracted from some of that, and I would like to kind of maybe get back and see it on foot and check it out that way. But overall, seeing LedgeMeont in a scramble always changes the dynamic. People have told me that it should count in the journey, in my quest, so I will check it off. I will write my review, and I did enjoy shooting a 54 in a scramble. We lost in a playoff. Really great way to work around those scores that come in that might seem a little bit too low. There was a 4-team playoff, and then we went to the 9th hole, which is an incredibly bad golf hole, but it gets you back to the clubhouse and within view, so everyone was kind of watching, and that was also a lot of fun. Made birdie. Shout out Dave Sampson for making a birdie on 18 basically by himself, and then we did a close to the pin from 100 yards, and another team stuffed it to 5 feet, and that was it. So we shot the lowest score. We did not win, and that's fine. It was a really fun day, really fun scramble, and I think LedgeMeont has kind of like this is in this middle ground of like, man, down the center line, if you keep your ball in play, you're going to feel like it's a really good shape. As soon as you start to skew and maybe find yourself in some rough and some bunkers, you might start to think like, oh man, this place still needs a little bit of TLC. And if you end up in the trees, or you just take a look around and step back, you'll see that there's just kind of been some changes made that could probably be undone to make the course just a little bit better. So those are the 5 courses I played this month. I've already played 1 course in June as I'm recording this. Looking forward to recapping June. Have a big month. Going to leave the state, play some golf outside of the state. Going to be in Western Mass for a few days playing golf out there. Hoping to maybe make a little trip to Cape Cod as well. I was out there this week but did not play. Got a bunch of footage of Cranberry Valley and I've not played there yet, so kind of gave me the itch to go cross the bridge and play some golf over there too. Where did you play in May? Where should I try to play in June, July, August, September? Obviously I have a ton of golf courses to play, but what places are in good shape? What places are worth seeing this year? And as always, thanks for liking this video. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Helps other people find these videos as I just try to share some stuff that's going on in Massachusetts golf with all of you. We will see you all next week for another video.